What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday! Welcome back to the show. Hope you did a good week. That's right. That's what we say here. Hope you did a good week. So the sound is on, so that means that I'm going to have a good guest here today. I got Greg Alba from the Reel Rejects coming in. We're going to talk about a great many things. Definitely going to talk about some of the stuff happening in the MCU, some stuff going in the world of DC, Star Wars, but the D23 is really, I think, what it's coming up really soon, and I'm so curious to get Greg's thoughts on what he thinks we're going to be seeing the D23 panel, and just in general. I'm still definitely going to give him some shit for how much shit he gave me about Thor Love and Thunder. Man, he gave me some shit. We'll talk about that for sure. But listen, you're brand new to the channel, and you've never been here before, and you're just figuring out, you're like, hey, I like the Reel Rejects, but I don't know who the fuck you are. Well, look, why don't you subscribe to the channel? We're trying to get to 70,000 by the end of the year, and what we're trying to also do is we're going to take the show on the road. Stand-up comedy, big thing, capes and cowls, Sith Council, the whole nine. We're going to be doing it, and we hope you join us. Podcast form, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere podcasts are found. Make sure you check that out. All right, let's get to it. It's Greg Alba. It's the Reel Rejects. It's a big thing. Let's do it. And boom. Great, that's not the show. One thing I need to prep for. Great, look at this. Welcome back, everybody. There you go. Big, good start. It's a show now. Yeah, good start. You know what it is? I don't know why mine might be down low. Welcome back to the show. Oh, good start already. Thanks to have you. Thanks to have you. Thanks to have me. And right across from me, finally, it's Greg Alba. What a good start we had there, huh? How you doing, man?
One time I'm going to see you and you're just calm as hell.
It's like that's my secret, Greg. I'm never calm. I know it's funny. I've been trying to master this thing. I'm getting better and better at it. And then the one day it's like Flub City McGillicuddy. How's it going? How was your ride over? It's like getting on a plane for like a 4-hour trip, huh?
It's nothing but ambulances and road and construction on the road is what it is over here.
It's like they're trying to keep us apart.
Because if it was nighttime, it'd be like a 15-minute drive. But it turns like a 45-minute drive over. Just oh my god, how many people are dying today?
I know,
Jeez.
I know. It doesn't. That's why I was talking about like doing like 9 in the morning for you, and then when you're like, oh, well, can we do 11? I was like, that's going to be much better for him with traffic. I guess not as good as I thought, but probably better than it would have been at 9 in the morning.
Oh, definitely. I got to say, by the way, while you were doing your intro, I was looking around at your space. And I love your set.
Thanks, man.
It always looks like you just moved in here.
It is true.
And that you're rushing to set up a space because you got to keep your channel going. That's what it looks like.
None of what you said is inaccurate. It's all that is saying is that you might as well you should be like, I can look at you and know what's going on in your soul right now, and you just nailed it. That's exactly right.
I like it though. Feels very grungy.
Yeah, well, it's true, but we're going to be changing it though, because I have like inquiries from like guests that are going to be coming in, people that be promoting movies and TVs and shows and shit, and like I don't want them to have that feeling. You know what I mean?
What did I sign up for?
Like you and my other peeps, and like when people come in here, it's like, okay, cool, that's fun, but it's got to change, and it's going to change. We have some changes that we're going to do, but I will say this, and I've said it with you not on the show, but I've told you in person, but I would like to say it on the air too. Greg Alba is definitely one of the main reasons that I've had, I think, I'd say a measure of success on this new channel, where I've been really pushing hard at certain things I didn't understand about it, even though I've been in the space for a while. Greg got on the phone with me many times and had some great input and definitely helped tremendously. So I thank you for that. I want to thank you on the air.
It's all my responsibility for why you're doing well.
That's it.
I've done all the hard work here.
It's just you. Yeah, that's true. It's like even like the thumbnails. You're just like and he's so nice about it. He's just like in reality, what he wanted to say. These fucking thumbnails are terrible.
I've done so many. I've made so many mistakes.
Yeah,
and I've done so many things. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe that's how. So now I have people who are always giving me advice.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just part of I think it's part of the right, if you run in the right circles, everyone's just going to give advice to each other.
It's like paying it forward too, right?
Yeah, that's what everyone does. Like I'm always getting advice from people.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'm like, oh shit, why did I do this before? And that's just my life. But I love what you're, sincerely, I love what you do. Like I have a lot of friends in this space. I don't listen to too many of them regularly, but I love a lot of your solo stuff. I really love your shit with Brett and Roxy.
Oh, thanks.
I think that is really entertaining. Admittedly, I haven't listened to the stuff with Steph and Mike yet.
That's okay. It's a lot of stuff to talk about.
There's a lot of things going on.
No, it's true. Well, the same goes for you. Look, the way that I look at it is very similar to the like stand-up comedy. When I would go to the Comedy Store, there were many comedians that I respected very much so. It doesn't mean I watched all their sets. It means that I was like, okay, yeah, I respect what they're doing. I appreciate what they're doing. They've got it works for them. I get it. I'm not going to go and watch their set. Nothing against them. It's just I got a lot going on here, and I'm preparing my stuff. And then there were other comedians that I was like, well, I gotta spend some time listening because I genuinely just really enjoy it, and if I wasn't a comedian, would be tuning in to hear it because I'm genuinely like just a fan. I feel that way about your stuff. Like I tell you, like I comment on your stuff all the time because when I'll be working on my stuff on my computer and I see Reel Rejects, I have the notifications on, so it pops up and I'm like, and I listen to you guys talk and I leave the comments and stuff too because of same thing. Generally entertaining to know whether it's friends or it's someone that you respect and. Clearly, as I said in the intro, we're not always on the same page.
No,
right?
no, definitely not.
But can discuss it in a way that I think that a lot of people don't, and I think is more important to do because, like I said, we're on like bringing up like Thor, Love and Thunder. We're on, I think, completely opposite sides of the spectrum.
Not as opposite as you think.
Okay,
I watched it again.
Okay, okay.
The second time I watched it, and I said this in our spoiler talk when we were live streaming, and. You know, I want to be. The thing about it is like, what I would have still been honest about it. What I was worried about being honest was that the reviews were not the greatest. So I didn't want it to look like I was placating. But my honest opinion was that the second time I watched it, the first half of the film really didn't work for me as much. It was
the first half.
Yeah, because it was suddenly I started feeling like, okay, when you don't have a packed crowd and I've heard all these jokes before. This is not funny. A lot of this is not funny. Like there's some jokes in there that are funny, but a lot of it was like I realized that my first experience, my takeaway was more with the last half of the film, and that's what the movie left me with. And then on the rewatch, when it was a much smaller crowd, not that it was crowd manipulation, it was just that now that I was with something where I could just absorb the movie, I was like, okay, the second time around, these jokes are really not quite clicking for me.
Totally, and look, but it is a sense of crowd manipulation, as you say.
It can be at times.
100%, especially when you go to like a premiere or a screening and stuff, and you're around a bunch of friends, and you're there for like the kind of good time. I think that's what they kind of count on a lot of the time too, as they should. It's smart. You bring in a whole bunch of people. Hey, here you're going to the premiere, have some fun, and then you're kind of enticing them with that feeling. They're not telling you like, oh, because we hooked you up with it, you got to give us a good review. That's not what it is. That's what stupid people think. But like, what it is that they definitely paint you in this picture where they're like, oh, look, you're in this big atmosphere and you're around all your friends and this is a good time and you're having fun. And like you said, it leaves you, I agree with you that the second half is way stronger. Yeah. But for me, by the time I got there, I was so checked out because I had said to you at the end when I saw it, I said it was a little too goofy for me.
Yeah, see, and I didn't really think that until I rewatched it
again, right?
Because I was thinking more about the second half.
Yeah, the second half definitely plays. They start to give a little bit more of context of the story, and then like just that first half is like, I hated that fucking Zeus stuff. I hated it. Like,
yeah, okay. I can't meet you.
Fine.
I actually enjoy it.
You know, because it's like it just. You ever see the movie Top Secret with Val Kilmer?
Yeah,
it's like Top Secret.
Yeah.
Seeing it,
but Top Secret's intentional and hilarious.
Right. That's and it knew that it was, and it didn't try to trick you that it was that, and like so that's why transitioning to like She-Hulk, I was. I
actually didn't catch your opinion on She-Hulk yet.
Loved it.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Loved it. But I was hesitant going into it because of two reasons. One, I didn't think the CGI was very strong in the trailer, and was worried about it. But also realized, hey, you're watching it on YouTube, so it'll look different once it's on Disney Plus, and it's not completely finished yet. So I understood that going in. My issue was what we just talked about in the lead-in with Thor, was that I worry when it's just comedy first. Everybody gets a joke. You don't know what the tone is. It switches all up. And I'm like, are we getting that again? The first two episodes of this show are so well written and is a great balance, which I think Thor was missing. It is a good balance of character. I think 3 and 4 get a little goofy.
I haven't seen 3 and 4.
Okay, 3 and 4 get a little goofy, but still pretty good. And I think, is it Jessica? Shoot, the writer. I keep forgetting her name.
The writer? Ooh, I forgot the writer's name. I barely remember.
I gotta start. I have to start remembering because she's such a great writer. She wrote the first 2, and from what I heard, she didn't write 3 and 4, and you could tell.
Yeah,
3 and 4 is good, but I just loved 1 and 2. But I assume you like. What? How many did you see?
I've only seen the first 2 so far.
Okay.
I went to the premiere, but I left the theater. When 3 played.
Any reason?
Yeah, because I got to react to it.
Oh wow, you wanted to get that. See, this is what we'll get into that later. I love your work etiquette. I really do. But
it's a weird thing to be credit because I had several people say that to me. I'm like, respect. I'm like, well, it just makes my job easier if I have never seen it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I prefer to, like, I've done it with trailers, like with Doctor Strange. I played Spider-Man No Way Home. I just was like, don't watch, don't watch, you know, or I'd leave the theater when Avatar was playing. I forgot what movie it premiered before, but yeah. But I liked 1 a lot. I liked it more the second time I watched it. I already liked it a lot the first time. The main criticism that I had, and I had this criticism before it came out, was the fact that I didn't like that, and I see it in the comments. People are debating about it all the time, and some people have no issue with it. I still feel like it could have made the episode that much better. I did crave her having a little bit more physical struggle with adapting to the Hulk power set.
Sure.
I know this is setting up for the internal struggles, and I don't want to give away what happens in the second episode because that's what I was kind of feeling was like, oh, they're playing more into the internal struggles that she's going to have to endure with some external struggles that are going to come. And I think the second episode I find stronger than the first. And that was the one thing that was like kind of missing for me in the first episode was I just wanted her to have a little bit of that uphill battle with developing the powers. But I felt like they were also just trying to get it out of the way because the second episode's when it's like a show.
Yes. And I think that's absolutely fair. I didn't have the issue with it, but I understand the issue with it. I had more of an issue with Kate Bishop and how easily she was able to just start fighting people in the
right.
That was I had way more of an issue with that. There's a lot of characters sometimes that just are able to do shit, and you're like, well, how the hell? I thought even though it was a quick thing, the way they explained like how her body was taking to it pretty easily and how she was able to control it and not be the rage beast right away. I like that, and from what I hear from, again, we both hear the same more stuff from Coy like, what they do from the comics, that it's pretty consistent. But I also agree that it was more so because I like the idea. There's a lot of shows, whether it's Obi-Wan or other shows, I think need to be longer to get more character development. I like that they're sticking to the 28 to 32 minute Ally McBeal structure of this show, and I think because of that, you just can get in so much inside of it. Like, this isn't really about the origin story and how she'd be able to do it, how she managed her powers, and it's more so of her balancing her life with being the Hulk. I think it's a fair criticism. Yeah. I didn't have as much of an issue. I think that a lot of people did.
No, the second time around, it just reminded me that it's a sincerely fun show.
Yes,
like there's an authenticity to how much fun it actually is, and sometimes it can feel forced, or sometimes it can feel like it's undercut, which is perhaps what Thor: Love and Thunder did, which is undercut stakes or undercut dramatic tension.
Right.
So the fun feels like you don't need a joke a lot of the time. Whereas here with She-Hulk, it feels natural.
It seems like it's part of the show.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah.
And it's not. Sometimes you say the word fun, and that's an excuse. But it's not for this. This is just. I think one of its strengths is the fact that it embraces its show.
Yes.
Versus a lot of these. A lot of times with streaming shows or whatever, they're like, we made a 6-hour movie and we cut it up. And this embraces the fact that it's episodic and that they just need to tell a solid story. I mean, I haven't seen 3 and 4, but I feel the impression I get is that they're just trying to tell a solid story every episode and have like an arc for her every single episode. And I think that is a strength versus trying to like cut up something in 6 hours.
Right. Right. And I think that, like you said, they knew exactly what they wanted to be and what it's structured for. From episode 1 exactly what this show is, and it stays consistent into it. But it also, you bring up these I wonder where you stand with this, because we talked about this on Friday. Are you more of and I think for your business, the obvious answer is week by week, but as a fan, are you more week by week of a fan, or do you like when they all dump it in one shot? I know for work it's week by week. It's all subjective on what they're telling. Like
most of Stranger Things, I think, works as a full streaming. Stranger Things 4, I was like, this could have been a week by week. Yeah, that particular season could have been a week by week. Whereas season 3, I'm like, no, that works as a full streaming. I think it just always depends on what it is. Because a lot of times that's the problem you run into when what we were talking about, when you're like, if instead of making a solid episode at a time, they try to make a 6-hour movie and they just end it per episode.
Yep.
And I think those are ones where I'm like, you might have just wanted to make that a streaming show. That way you can get the whole picture, because a lot of times these shows get judged, but then people come around to it by the time you get to the end, and that's because they constructed it that way.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I think my issue with it for the shows nowadays, because like Netflix were the really the innovators who, with streaming and had all these shows, House of Cards, all these other shows, gave you the full season. You're like, oh wow, I can just watch the full season. Right. Yeah. And they had really no competition. There was nobody out there that was because week by week television. Okay, I mean network TV. Okay, fine. But the streaming wars didn't really start until like 19, really.
Right.
And now we're still only 3 years into it. And now that it's heating up the way that it does, I think Netflix has to change their strategy, because channels like yours, channels like these other things that, like, when you're covering week by week, if you're going on YouTube, you're going on Twitter, you're going on TikTok, anywhere, and people are talking about these things, they're talking about it on the day and then the following week. And if you nail everything in 2 days, your show's going to be lost. It's not in the water cooler discussion anymore.
Well, I think what people like more than anything else a lot of the time is anticipation.
Yes.
They like looking forward to something. So I think that's why when you have a week-to-week show, you have the anticipation of looking forward to something. Like, there are shows that I watch that I don't talk about on the channel. Like Better Call Saul is my favorite show I've seen, and like one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah.
And I would look forward to it every single week. I was addicted to it, and I couldn't.
Why don't you talk about it? Just curious.
There are some shows that I just need for me.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't want to miss business with pleasure sometimes.
I mean, sometimes it's like, like the whole point of what I do is I have to kind of enjoy and kind of ignore. It's like I have to be aware there's a camera, but also kind of ignore the fact there's a camera with what I do.
Sure.
But there are some shows that I'm like, I just like to eat food and kind of veg out. Maybe depending on the day, might smoke a little bit, just so I could just enjoy my enjoy my TV, because weirdly that kind of feeds into what I do, because if I can enjoy it in my personal life, then it's easier to do it on camera too. So sometimes it just does work better for me to do something like or Westworld, for example.
Sure. Okay.
So I like there's some shows I just need for same thing with movies too. And so I'm not going to cover everything and anything.
Well, I think it's also different for you and I right now, so for me, I can do that in a certain example because of just how I start with when Schmoes. I'm so used to like the review itself, right? Like I don't do the episodes, and I'm starting, and it's again advice from you, but I'm probably going to start doing episode reviews the same way, or excuse me, or watch alongs the same way that you've been doing
the reactions,
the reactions off the actual episode itself. But right now, what I do is I'll even if it's a show that I enjoy, I'll watch it, and then I'm like, okay, I really like that. I want to get the word out, and I want to talk about it and get the review out. But sometimes, depending on when I watch it, it's like, well, if I do that, I don't know if it's going to hurt the algorithm, because it's 3 months later, nobody's talking about this show anymore, and that comes into it now. Like, it wasn't like that 5-10 years ago. Like, you could just you see, oh shit, I just watched Ghostbusters again, and I'm going to do something with Chris Stuckman, and me, him, and Mark are going to watch Ghostbusters, and Ghostbusters winds up doing whatever the hell it does. But I like, for example, I'm watching the Sandman.
Okay,
I love this show. I love it. I'm like 6 episodes in. It's different. It's creepy, but it's clever, and I'm like, nobody's talking about this. And then some of the people are like, well, people were talking about it. They were just talking about it on the first 2 days that it came out. Mm-hmm. But I'm still going to try it to, like, when I'm done with it, I'm going to put a review up and tell people that they should check it out. Like, The Offer was one that I saw that I know if I put that review up, nobody would have watched it. But I try to talk about it on this show all the time, that for when people are going through the chapters and going, oh, what's this show? The Offer is phenomenal.
I haven't seen it yet.
Loved
There's a lot of shows I have to start. I mean, it's like I have to do a lot of editing too, and
I know you do a lot of shit. I don't think people realize how much shit you really do. You do a lot. You do a lot.
I mean,
you do a lot.
There's a guy, actually, a friend of mine, Ryan Airy. He runs a channel called Screen Crush. Has like over 1 million followers.
Yeah.
Great channel. And he messaged me. He's like, "Wait, you actually watched this show on camera for the first time?" I'm like, "Yeah. What do you mean?" Yeah. He's like, "I thought you watched it in advance and then maybe record it like record certain scenes after. He's like, that's so much editing you got to do. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's very time consuming. And then a lot of things with these things you're talking about with algorithms and stuff. It's a lot of people don't realize. Like, yeah, when we first met, it was so much easier to get views back then. It was actually too easy back then. And now everyone's channel has a very specific algorithm because the algorithm is this crazy AI that no one really understands. So everyone
they don't even understand it.
No, they don't. They don't. And so everyone I talk to has a specific algorithm.
Right.
So like your algorithm is going to be different than mine, and then everyone else that I know. So it's sometimes YouTube pushes your video. Sometimes they push a full channel. Sometimes if you try something different, they're like, that's unassociated with this. So everything is. Some people can do a variety. Some people can't do a variety. And it all just depends. It's weird. And some people get all their views from their subscribers. Some people get all their views from just being in the search or recommended. It's all over the place.
Dude, it's so crazy because it's one of those things. I remember when we were first talking and you're like, yeah, well, the goal is you got to start to get into the trending page. And I'm like, yeah, no fucking shit. I'm like, I would love to, but I'm like, and I said, I've never, that's, even with
I want you to get in the recommended is what I want.
Recommended, right.
Yeah, recommended.
And that's what, right, recommended. And I'm like, no, it wasn't recommended. The trending page.
The trending page?
Yeah. And
I don't recall saying.
You said you got to try like to trending, like to eventually trend recommended. Absolutely, you said, but you said but to trending, and like because you've been on it a few times, and I was like, and I said to you,
I don't know if it does anything. I don't know.
It certainly does. I'll tell you why. Because Ellis and I had never ever been on the trending page ever.
Okay.
My Spider-Man one was.
Yeah.
That's the most amount of subscribers, views. One of the best months I had when it was myself, you guys, and Grace Randolph were all trending from that review.
It's because you keep getting suggested and recommended. So like, and they have a thing called click-through rate, meaning how many people saw your thumbnail, clicked on your video. Right. So there's all these different numbers and calculations.
It's insane. So like, and then I'm like, well, that happened. Maybe it'll happen again. I'm just sitting here twiddling my dick in the wind. But either way, it's like, but you're absolutely right. And I told people this who do things. I was like, look, the algorithm is going to push you in certain directions and do certain things and favor you at times and not favor you at other. And I'm not a dummy to this. Like when a trailer comes out for even if it's like Andor, I've got to because the benefit for me is I have children, so I'm fucking up. Yeah. So if they drop this thing at 6 a.m, I'm up and I'm doing it right. Yeah. But I got to get it up there quick because once yours, Tyrone's, other people's shit comes out, you guys obviously and should be. You're gonna get the algorithm's gonna start to. When people are searching for it, they're going to throw to you guys because you've been doing it. The algorithm knows your channel, so you got to work if you're a smaller channel, and you got to move. And that's what I think that a lot of people don't realize. Some people put it out like I've seen people put it out like 5 hours after you guys have done it. And I'm like, you're toast. Like, you still should do it, but you're toast.
We're fortunate enough now because before I always felt like I had to be the first one up, and after close to 1 million was when I was like, oh, maybe we don't actually have.
You don't have to. No,
the first one up, and now I can like spend at least an hour editing this video before I make it live.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a fortunate position, but you always got to figure it out. I mean, for the longest time, our movie reviews wouldn't get views, just our movie reviews. And then I realized, okay, but if we shoot a full review at the theater, and then I noticed there's a lot of people doing it. Yeah. I'm not saying we're the influence for it. If anything, it's probably Campia who I would see do like a 1-minute one. But I was like, what if we just did a full one at the theater? That's what I wanted to do. And we've gotten in trouble with many a security guard. We've got kicked out. But that's when we started getting views on our actual reviews was doing them at the theater.
Those out of the theater reactions to me are something that I think have been kind of eye-opening for me because when I was looking at it, there's always these social reactions that are allowed. Yeah. Social reactions are allowed. And then I remember somebody saying, I remember who's like, well, if you did like a minute social reaction on YouTube, what's the difference of tweeting it?
It's a social media platform.
It's a social media platform. Yeah. I was like, well, there is no difference. I'm like, wow. And then I started doing those and make sure, but you got to make sure that you don't, so people are like, oh, you're reviewing it. I'm like, if you've been watching me, that's not a fucking review. A minute of me just talking about blah, 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 blah. So those things are helpful for sure, but like you said, you've got to find things that fit your channel, that fit your personality, that people want to come back for you. Like I realize when I do She-Hulk reviews, which is a show that I want to watch, enjoy it, I'll get people watching it, but I'm going to find more people start watching when I'm putting my Andor reviews up. Sure. That's what people know me for, so doing that. So, but yeah, it's very interesting kind of learning it, even though I've been doing it since 2008, 2009. Yeah. It's such a different game than it was back then.
It's always going to be evolving and changing. I mean, there are people who like have more followers than ourselves, but I know we're doing better than. Likewise, there's a channel, there's a really great friend of mine, probably actually easily my closest friend outside of the States. His name's Paul, runs a channel, Heavy Spoilers. Less followers than us, but does phenomenally better than our channel, phenomenally. And I'm always getting advice from this guy. So yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating game. But yeah, like when I met you, I mean, I remember, you were doing schmoes at the time. I remember being like hella nervous the first time I met you because I was.
Oh, and when you came into the show,
I had never done collabs or anything like that. You were the first channel that I was like, oh my god, I'm going to schmoes. No, what the fuck? This is weird. I've never done collabs, and we were like 60K subscribers. And so it was a really strange time for me. Yeah,
it was awesome. It was a lot of fun, and I remember that. I remember then Mark and I came into I think it was your old apartment.
Yeah, we couldn't find parking. That was great.
Yeah, we couldn't find parking. That's right. Yeah, we did a few reactions with you guys, and then you had like the greatest schmoes memories or something that we reacted to, which was really fun too. It's still on your channel.
Is it? Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You're gonna be shooting? Am I allowed to bring this up? You have to go out the last day of shooting
Schmoedown. As this airs. We will already have shot it.
Yeah.
So this airs on, this is going to air on Monday, but so the end of the Schmoedown, the Schmoedown Spectacular, we had shot it this weekend, and it airs on October 1st. Okay. And so I'm hoping. So otherwise, I'm going to have to cut this out. But I'm hoping to make an announcement already. So what I'm doing is I'm moving a bunch of things around. My goal is that I've already announced this on Friday. So we'll fingers crossed. Okay. I'm moving things around from channels, right? So there's now going to be four YouTube channels.
Okay.
The first is this channel, which is not really going to change everything on here. Big things, Sith Council, Capes and Cows, all of it. It's all on this channel, and nothing will change. Reactions, reviews, the way that you like. If you're subscribed, well, how's that going to affect this? It isn't. The Schmoedown, the YouTube channel that is the Schmoedown channel right now, that used to be the old Schmoes channel, is going to be the Big Thing Clips channel.
Okay.
And so what's going to be on that channel in general, you're going to have basically. So today, once it transitions in, if the main topic of this is D23 or whatever it might be, and we start talking about YouTube and how to help your channel, and I go, that's a good video. Maybe we'll post that up. That'll be on the Clips channel. There'll be like 4 of those. Plus, if Coy and Winston and I are on and we saw a movie together, instead of their review being on my channel, it'll be on the Clips channel. So there'll be like 3 or 4 clips a day, and hope to build that out. Be like, well, what the hell's going to happen with the Schmoedown library? We built out a channel called the Schmoedown Archives, where the spectacular is actually going to air, and like there'll be a couple episodes of rundown on there leading to the spectacular, and all the old episodes will start to kind of come out too from the season, so like a new audience can find it.
Got it.
So, and then the final channel is SEN Live, which will be its own channel, and that's still going to be offered on Patreon, and then SEN Live is going to be live 2 times a month. And so if people want to go and find SEN Live, they can do it. Cool. So that's kind of how we're rebuilding the whole thing.
How are you feeling?
Great. Yeah, I'm feeling great about it. Yeah, it's like, look, it's like happy and sad at the same time, right? So obviously, I think that there was so much more that we could have accomplished in general, and I do think that the pandemic was the fucking iceberg that the Titanic never recovered from.
Yeah.
But it was 9 seasons. How many people can say that they did 9 seasons of a show and did it pretty damn well? And we had a lot of good things that were working, and a lot of things. And the other thing that I said, when you lose an audience, whether it's because of pandemic or other things, whatever it is, with everything we were just talking about, there's so much shit on YouTube, streaming. If you lose a portion of your audience, it's hard to get them back.
Yeah.
Because you got to say, hey, look at the stuff we're working on now, but they got to, but I'm watching all this other shit now. Like you just said before, like there's only so much shit I can watch at one point, because your lives go on. Because I happen to think that, and we talked about it, this version of the Schmoedown at that studio as Titans was probably the best version that we had ever done, like as far as production and all that too. But it just that, calling it what it is, not enough people were watching it.
Yeah, it's a hard thing when you. I mean, I've had my ups and downs with Schmoedown behind the scenes emotionally that I've like talked with you about, and I'm not afraid to be like candid about it. But I think what you built, and with team involved too, the influence of it is something that is quite phenomenal. Like when you really sit back and look at it, and it's really beautiful. And there's so many people I've gotten to meet from, like I got to know Koi from there. Yeah. He's one of my closest friends. I got to know so many of the personalities. Like there's so many people who also were given a platform to shine, like just true fans and that's why it made sense to me why there were so many people who embraced playing in the game, because a lot of these people finally felt recognized and noticed. And I think that was such a grand thing to give to people who actually started to accrue a following for the first time ever, and started to get some people who were just journalists, some people who never got the time to shine in the spotlight. I think what the Schmoedown was a very impactful thing. And it is sad. It's weird. Like, as much as I'm not one of the most involved people with it, it still is a sad thing to see go. Like,
you were more involved than people realize, especially towards the end here. You were like, for people who don't know, Greg was reaching out to me many times. Like, look, I think there's things you can do to try to boost this, to do that, and I implemented a lot of stuff that he had suggested for sure. And it just was, we were just in
it was minorly working in the beginning.
It was.
Like, look at the arrows are going up on the analytics.
Yeah.
Look.
But I just, like I said about the boat, though, I just think the hole was too big in the boat at that point.
Yeah. And it's a massive ship that you're running. You got a whole team full of people. And what a lot of people don't realize with you is, you have to be the leader of this whole thing.
Right.
So you're helping to lead and manage so many people. Right. And I'm like, that responsibility is tough. Like I've been expanding Reel Rejects, which is, like the first 500K was just pretty much me.
Yeah.
And then John officially partnered up with me. So that was like my first employee technically, right? And now I got like Koi and then editors, and then trying to brand, and now I'm trying to produce a couple of other things too. And I'm like, it is a lot. I'm never sleeping.
Yeah.
I don't even have kids like you. And then yet you're doing all this other stuff with these people. And then yet I'll notice that because you're the leader, it's easier to be judged too.
Oh shit! Just go on Reddit.
I know. It's crazy. It's like you turn to Vince McMahon. Where I'm like, I know this Kristian guy. This is not him.
They fucking hate me over there.
And that's what I mean. It was crazy. I mean, it's like the prophet's never appreciated his own land, and that was like the position you were in a lot of the time. And it's like, I know everyone has their own whatever subjective experiences with you. But I'm also really well aware of but he's also dealing with 100 people here. Yeah. And so sometimes he might get a little bit short or might get reactive towards a situation that goes wrong because of one piece of the domino. One thing creates a domino effect.
Yeah, it does.
And then sometimes you don't have time to be some people want all this undivided time and attention.
Right.
When you're like, you don't really have all that time, so you got to be a little short.
You also got to be able to concentrate on yourself at some point.
Exactly.
And be able to concentrate on your mental health. Because again, being completely open, like you and I had probably a 2-hour conversation outside, and I was the most open with you than I've probably been with anyone outside of my wife. And I was like, I was struggling, mentally. I was just struggling, and I'd gone on those Reddit threads and these other things, and I was just
fuck you up, man.
it was bad. It was like I was in the worst place maybe since my brother passed. I was in a really bad place, and I was walking around going, I'm just in a terrible place right now. I did feel underappreciated at certain things, and I felt also I have this idea, and I put the idea out, and then you just see someone just fucking shit on it, and you're like, it's their right to do. If they don't like it, they don't like it. You can't say, well, why don't you like my stuff? You can't do that. But it doesn't mean we're not humans and it doesn't hurt, right? And so that's just one example of many different things. And then, but that didn't even lead into the fact that I had no call on the Schmoedown ending when it did. It did. It ended when it did. I understood, and I said, okay, well, let's make it work. And to Skybound's credit, was phenomenal in how they wanted to make sure it had a proper send off and all these different things. And it was very. I mean, I can't say enough positive things about Skybound. Very positive things about Skybound, and the way that they handled it in general, which is just smart business decisions that they had to make. I get it, but it's but I was already in a place where I was just kind of getting beat down. That when it does come to so many different people and looking at enjoying myself on this channel and doing the things that I'm doing on this channel, I'm like, I like doing this. And I've never been on my own ever, because Mark and I had done for so long, and I've never done my own thing. And I wasn't planning to. I kind of fell into doing my own thing because we had SEN Live. We turned it into the KH channel, and inside of that, that kind of came out of nowhere. I had reactions and reviews again. I had kind of written off reviews. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that anymore. Then I was like, I'm kind of having fun doing it again. And it's you got to have fun. But it is, as you said, and you know more than anybody, it's work. But if it's satisfying work, then it's worth pursuing.
Well, it's like I equate a lot of what we do to like actual. You say acting, and it sounds like pretending or faking. Right? I'm talking about like that old philosophy. Every time I watch Inside the Actors Studio, the philosophy I always heard about was you do a lot of. Even right now, we're doing this with you. You hear a lot about, you do a lot of prep, you got to do the work, you got to do the research, you got to do this. But then when it comes time to film, you got to let it all go and be in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do, essentially.
It's true.
Is like you let it all go and you just be in the moment, because then you got to have fun. You got to enjoy what you're doing when the camera's rolling. And that's pretty much how it is right now as we're doing this. It's
true.
Like I see you stressed and trying to put this shit together and all that stuff.
But then you just
sound working.
It's true. But then you kind of ease into it, and
Yeah.
you got to make the best quality. And speaking of best quality and easing into it, how about Storyblocks?
Storyblocks,
Ladies and gentlemen, Storyblocks. If you haven't had Storyblocks, you don't know Storyblocks. We're here talking about, making video and helping video and starting your channels. Well, video is the most effective way to capture an audience's attention. And because of it, modern storytellers are always challenged with creating more video content at a higher quality, involving more voices in the process, and distributing on more platforms than ever before. And I know that I can tell you, Greg can tell you, a lot of the stuff that we face as creators, you have to meet output demands. There's time, there's budget, it's knowledge, creative inspiration, passion, and definitely burnout and mental health is a major thing that creators deal with. What Storyblocks do is it makes it possible for creators to keep up with the growing demands for modern video content. So you bring all your stories to life and you stop sacrificing your vision due to time, budget, or resources. You choose a plan that works for you out of their selection of flexible subscriptions that scale to give you all the content and tools you need to focus on in creating and not worrying about budget. So you go to the unlimited all access plan is the one that I recommend, and it gives you unlimited downloads of over the 1 million assets in their library. You try out multiple options quickly and find the perfect fit so you can create more and spend less without sacrificing quality. So if you go to storyblocks.com/big-thing, I would really recommend that unlimited all access plan. One more time, that is storyblocks.com/big-thing. All right. So I also wanted to talk to you, Greg, and by the way, everybody, before I get into that, people are always asking, as far as supporting the channel and as far as wondering, like, yes, likes and comments and subscriptions, that's monumental, right? If you're able to join Patreon, absolutely. But if you're like, I just want to help and support the channel, what do I do? Hey, find a sponsor that we talk about that is right for you, and if you like it, get it. Storyblocks, then get Storyblocks. Go into the description, do it, and let me know, because I send it to the sponsors once I hear what you're enjoying and what you're not enjoying. So go ahead, let me know. All right. So
I think people thought we'd be joking around a lot more.
Sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. You
can't force it, right?
And you'd be surprised, man. Like the conversations like this, I think, are so helpful for people, and I think that especially whether it's like whatever we're talking about, whether it's stuff that we can geek out about, inside of the shit that we love, Better Call Saul, fucking She-Hulk, whatever it is, and then there's stuff that they want to hear. Like, if I was a creator kind of coming up and starting a YouTube channel, and I knew fucking Greg Alba was going to be on the show, and a guy who's built this thing from the ground up and got himself to over 1 million subscribers, right? Talking about two things that I think.
Not alone, though. I want to.
No, of course not, John. Yeah, John. Of course. But he's just not in the room with us. But I'm saying,
fuck John.
Fuck John. No, but of course, for what you guys were able to do and build it together, same thing like what Mark and I were able to do, right? I'd want to listen, and I'd want to say, oh, well, sure. I want to hear what they're saying. Plus the fact when you also those things of like people are human beings. Like it's like you can see us having fun goofing around, but it's like we can get our ass kicked like anybody else.
Well, a big part of what we do has to look like we're not working.
Right? Yes, absolutely. That's why, dude. Like when I'm not working, or when I am working, this is part of my work.
Yeah.
That's part of my work, and I put that on my soundboard because that is part of my work. Farts are my brand.
Yeah. I mean,
it should be a shirt. Farts are my brand. It really. My wife would agree.
Yeah. The whole point is we're supposed to look like this is not work at all.
Right.
Like that's not. And then if you try to put it out there too much, and it takes away the whole fun.
Right.
It's not an illusion necessarily, but there's like prep and time. And granted, it's like my fiance, like that's real work. Like she's a therapist for autistic kids. That's a fucking job, right there.
Right. And that is a job that is helping.
I'm always like, the fucking views are low. She's like, yeah, this kid fucking punched me in the gut today. I'm like, that's a real job.
You
right
win.
There. Yeah,
you win.
Yeah,
totally. I get it. It's the same, man. Yeah, there's a lot of like when I had a meeting with a friend about a week ago, and just listening to him talk about the stuff that he's doing, it's like it's certainly not what your fiance is doing, but it's still inside of the entertainment business. But I was listening to like playing like major league stuff, and I'm like, and then I'd gotten some tweet or text from some kind of drama going on, and whether it was a Reddit thread or it was like some kind of internal drama, and I'm like,
fun.
I'm like, this is so stupid. I'm like, what grade are we in?
Right.
I'm like, and meanwhile, I'm talking to this other person about like real things, and I'm like, there's so much more stuff that's important to worry about and enjoy in life, and like just kind of breathe and enjoy it. And as you say, yes, what we're doing is fun and it's work, and you should embrace that side of it, that we get to watch this stuff that we love and talk about. And that's why I used to get like really take more things on the air with me, like whether it was somebody like saying something in the comment section or anything too, and I'm so over that now. And I'm like, so like I can like, it's easy to just block that person. It's your store. You can throw out anybody you want from the store. If somebody comes out with their dick hanging out of their pants in your store, you have the right to throw them out of your store. You don't have to scream at them in order to do it. That's the beauty of that block button. I get shit all the time, and people like, you'll never see it a lot of the time in the comment section. Like if it's like really hateful, I go through the comment section all the time. And if it's like hateful stuff, I don't want that to be what I think is accepted in a lot of YouTube places. There's something that you just can't, there's so many comments coming in, you can't always police it, but I'll put certain word blocks and things in there because I want it to be as much. I think people should be able to talk to each other. I think they should be able to disagree with each other, but hateful speech and all this type of shit that goes on and calling people names because they like something else you do, fuck it, go to someone else's channel and do it. I saw enough of it at Collider and other things. I'm over it.
Well, I can really, I think what I really noticed, at least I could speak for me and several other people, is a lot of times when you read these hate, a lot of times people don't realize is that, I think even for you, people don't, I certainly didn't know until like within the past year, like Kristian's a lot more sensitive than I think people realize.
Yeah. Like
you're a more sensitive guy, and I'm like a lot of times I could be a sarcastic asshole, but I'm actually a very I consider myself a pretty empathetic human being. Yeah. And
just watch your Forrest Gump thing. I see that.
I've done several movie reactions later. I was like bawling my eyes.
You crying made me cry.
Yeah, so I like those conversations. I really like doing the movie reactions. That's really fun. But I'm so sorry. I just lost my train of thought.
You just talking about just being empathetic and just people don't realize.
Oh, with the comments and stuff is that a lot of the times when you read like a hate comment, you know, especially where you're at in your life, you're reading something, and so the voice that's reading it is your own voice in your own head, so then it kind of can feed into your own subconscious. You know, it's different than if some dumbass said it to me in person, actually.
Of course.
So I'll be like, who the fuck are you? I don't know who you are, you know? Yeah. But when I read a comment, it's like, it's my own negative voice in my head reading it.
Is that true?
And, then I'm going through it. Because, you know, from doing this, as I started the channel, like when this channel really started making like pennies, like I mean literal pennies, I must have been like 24 or something, 23. Yeah. So now I'm like 32. And I feel like you could watch me grow up over time. And I've matured over time. Before, you know, I was just always trying stuff out, or I was trying to be like I was always listening to Eminem and Louis C.K. So everything about me was just provoking people all the time. Yeah. And then I learned and I realized like I'm not really enjoying my life. I've never even talked about this. I've had like 2 times I was admitted into a 72-hour hold for suicidal ideations and stuff. So I was like in a really fucked up place and a lot of meds and shit. I've talked about that sort of. And now it's like some people kind of miss that side of me. A, that wouldn't fly by on YouTube, and that's not why I didn't do it, but it wouldn't fly by on YouTube anymore. They just keep striking me down. But B, it's I just feel like I've grown, like what you're talking about with being a little bit, because I can get affected by comments, sure, but I am not as affected as I used to be. I'm certainly not bulletproof. I'm certainly don't have that rhinoceros skin I've heard about forever. But I am significantly more comfortable in my own skin, where I can have a genuine conversation with you, whereas before I would feel like, oh, I have to come on, I got to try to make people laugh all the fucking time, you know? And so now I think that's a big part of, like, you can kind of watch us grow up here.
Yeah, it's getting comfortable, right? And it's that thing, and there's like from performing at the Comedy Store and other things, the microphone has been a part of my life and comfortable for a while, but it's that type of stuff of understanding, because I even back on Schmoes, like I would do certain things on screen and I would say, oh, well, that's how I would handle a heckler in a comedy club, and that always worked out and people thought that was hilarious, but it doesn't play that way if people don't understand that certain side of you and understand, they just think you're screaming and yelling.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, that doesn't really play as much anymore on that type of thing, or listening, or getting affected by certain comments. Like there's things that happen all the time where, like, so perfect examples. Now, what people like to say about anything, if you put, like, whether it's a woman or anything, to people right away go, oh, I hear it's woke, I'm not going to watch it. That's what everybody says now, right? Now, I'm not going to tell you that there's not certain times that there is certain things I think that, because this is what Hollywood does in general. The Hollywood can say, well, we're supposed to just do this and do that in order to make sure everybody's at peace, so we're going to do that. That absolutely happens. Sure, There's no doubt about that. Yeah. Because they're like, well, we don't want them to yell at us, so we're going to do this. Does that happen? Absolutely it happens. But you can't fucking say that about everything. No. You just can't. It's like, well, I saw someone say it, well, you know, this She-Hulk, it's woke. So Stan Lee was woke? Because that's what Stan Lee did. That fucking that was the whole thing. That what Stan Lee did, he wrote She-Hulk as there's no difference. Yeah. And it's like, you can't just say that because there's some fucking crazy war going on, because there's been a war going on with the fandom for years. Yeah, for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, and it's just so. I'm not gonna say that. Okay, guys, just end it, because it's not gonna end. There's no fucking way. You look at the way the world is; it's not gonna end. But I don't know. I feel like I want to be like William Wallace in the beginning of the fucking thing. It's like, you got to fight. It's like, I want to stay out of the wars. Yeah, I'm out of it. I just want to sit around. I want to play. I want to have some fun. I want to do that. Like, I want to have. That's all I want, and I just want to goof and talk movies about people. I don't want to get into this whole thing. Well, what do you think about the social thing? It's like, I've never been like that. Never wanted to do that. And I think that I explored it a little bit more at Collider Live, where I would go into certain things, talk about things, and it's like, because that's the kind of shit I didn't like. Like, it's funny, and this is not a dig on Roxy or Josh or Riley or any people that I did. I fucking hate Collider Live. I hate it. Like, hate it. Like, people bring up, oh, I love Collider Live. It's so great. It's one of the biggest dark spots on my entire fucking career. I hate it. Not the people that I worked with. Love Josh and Roxy and all of them, and had fun with them, but I fucking hate that show. And same thing like Jedi Council, like those things, they felt like corporate, and people were like, really, that was the show that I found you for too. And I'm like, I'm glad, but I was not me. I was not like, this is the most me I feel like I've ever been.
Yeah, you can't say what you just said back then.
No, you can. You can't, because it's like any of this. Like, what am I going to go into work? Hey guys, by the way, I fucking hate this show. This show sucks. And well, we got to talk about this today. Fuck you guys. And I did that once, and I almost got canceled. but all
that's
a
great day.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And still, but even that, I went on Kristi fucking Lemire's show the other day, and like, I've talked about this. She talked about being open. I've talked about it many times over. That whole fucking thing that went down. Like, my brother died when he was 37 years old, and that's not an easy thing to handle. It just isn't. Like, you know, and people that are recently, friends that have lost siblings, I say, and a friend of mine who also lost a sibling, we've said it. It's the worst fucking club in the world to be in. It really is. And you carry shit with you. You carry anger with you, and you carry stuff with you for a long time. And as we just talked about earlier, if you're not talking to anyone, that shit can bottle up. And if you think, well, I'll let work will substitute it, and work will bury it. Yeah. It doesn't bury it, just festers. And that shit festered for a year. And I fucking came into work that day, furious at the world, just mad at the world, and fucking just went off, except I did it on air, and I got fucking caught in the jaw.
I made that mistake, yeah.
I got caught in the jaw. And you know, people who didn't like me clipped it out, fucking went after me, and rightfully so. People who were like, what the fuck what do you care about whether or not you got invited to a fucking theme park for? What do you care? It was like, rightfully so, fucking come after me. And then there are people who know the story, don't know the story, and I go, look, not happy about it, went in, had a bad day. You ever have a bad day? I had a bad day on air. I had a really bad day on air, and I fucking caught it on the jaw. But I went on Kristi Lemire's show. I was like, oh, I can't watch this guy after the whole fucking outburst he had about a theme park. And I'm like, it's a thing I got to carry with me.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it.
Unfortunately,
it sucks. But it's like, it's one of those things. But it's why I always tell people, if you're going through shit, whether you're on the air or not, if you're going through shit, talk to people. That's why, by the way, that recently I spoke to you for as long as I did, because I didn't want to carry that shit around again, because I was getting into a place where I felt that again, when like I read some fucking Reddit thread about how like I'm on how I was the one who ruined the Schmoedown and this and this and this, and I'm going through it, and this is one particular guy that just kept coming after me, and it fucking just put me in this place, and I'm like, I can't let that happen again.
Yeah.
I cannot.
Yeah.
I cannot, for not even for a selfish reason of because of, you know, I'm going to carry it around again. It's because I don't want people around me to deal with that. Mm-hmm. And so you've been around it, you know, you understand like that. You've gone through shit like that too.
Yeah. That's why today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp.
Is the shirt? Use the code Reel Rejects.
No, I fully. I mean, I made a lot of.
Yeah.
You know, one time I don't really talk about this. One time I had a breakup and I went on camera and it became like fucking other people started reporting about it and I was like crying on camera about a breakup and that turned into a nightmare and I was like, why the fuck did I do that? I took it down like within an hour, but it got like so many views and people were talking about it. So it was really embarrassing. I don't generally like. I feel like I've talked about it plenty enough already, obviously. Yeah. So, but like I've made human mistakes, and that's the problem. That's the thing when you're have a channel.
You're on
air. You have access to everything. You control everything. You get your hands on shit. But even at the start of this channel, when Reel Rejects started growing, you know, like the 2013, the different girl. I had a breakup. Grandma died and dad died. And then I went gung ho with the channel,
right? And
I turned and like I said, I was listening to like a lot of Eminem and Louis C.K. So everything was about like provoking. Yeah. And I adopted this personality that was like a satire of like a Judd Apatow like character, where it was just all about like a whole bunch of just like borderline racist, borderline sexist. Mm-hmm. Like it was all satirical. But the idea was I put on the name Ryan Wright, which was the thing to hide behind to get away with these jokes.
Got it.
And that was all stemming from a place of a lot of pain. And so when I look back at that Ryan Wright, even though some people really can't tell the difference, but when I look back at that of why I always had to be like a dick joke every single day, it felt like, and I like bring a lot of female guests on, and a big part of it was like doing bits that made them feel uncomfortable, you know? And I really feel like sometimes it's funny to go back and watch it. Like, man, I can't. No one can get away with any of these jokes that I'm making in some of these videos right now. But a lot of it was also stemmed from a place that I wasn't truly in tune with myself. Like I remember when I met you, I felt uncomfortable when I would go anywhere and under this name and having this certain image. And a lot of that was stemmed from a place of a guy in pain who was escaping through this alter ego by hiding behind a different name and feeling like I should just make all these jokes to provoke people. And now. Yeah, it's like I've been in therapy for like over 10 years now. So
I'm sure it's been helpful tremendously. Yeah.
It's been one of the most beneficial things. To this day, I never want to go to therapy. Like every time I go to therapy, I never want to go. But whenever I leave, I'm so glad I went.
And that's what I'm saying. It's just like if you're out there and you need someone to talk to, find someone to talk to. Seriously, because it's tremendous how much it helps and how much like damage it can do if you don't.
Yeah,
it really can. And I try to tell people that, and even going back to like I said, I used to be combative in the comments, and I like when someone would say something like, "Well, fuck you." So every once in a while I'll be like, "It's today." I still go. Every once in a while I'll do a smell my farts. I'll do like a smell my farts or something. But it's like, but I'm laughing about it. I'm laughing about it. I'm like, well, you know what? Blah, blah, blah. Because it doesn't help, and it also doesn't help me in trying to talk. Like when people will come out, like if someone because you can't also think that everyone knows your story. All they see, going back to the same thing. What's that?
They don't.
So for me, like I said, going back to that whole scenario, to them they saw that clip. And maybe they don't watch my stuff. How the fuck do they know about anything with my history? They know what they saw, and to them they have their image. Like the same way that we watch a TV show. Or we watch an interview with somebody. You see one interview with somebody. Let's see, Jamie Foxx is on some show you tune into. You've never really heard Jamie Foxx talk. He had one interview. He said something. I don't fucking like that guy. I saw him say this thing on thing, and then meanwhile, Jamie Foxx could have 75 other interviews where you watch him and you fucking like him. But you watch that one. You don't like him because you saw what he did that day. You don't like him, and that's fair. That's what you saw. You don't have to. Well, you should have watched his other stuff. Fuck you. I don't want to watch that though. That's what I saw, and that's part of that person's personality. So that's who that person is. Not fair to them, but it's also not unfair to you to have that because that's what you're watching at that time. Yeah. So I get it. I don't have personal beef with somebody when someone comes in and goes, "Hey, you did that thing with the theme park." Because I recently said I was on Campia show last week, and somebody wrote that on the thing, and I wrote, "Look," and I told them the situation is basically what I just told you. The person said, "I had no fucking idea that happened to you." He's like, "I'm sorry, I deleted my comment. I didn't realize that's what you were going through, and I apologize." I don't need that back from everybody to say that.
Yeah.
But I want to present that to someone and go, oh, I didn't know that. Or they can go, well, you still did that? Well, fuck you too. Because people are going to do that too. They're gonna. So it's like, it's only on me to be able to say, well, hey, I'm talking about it now. I'll let you know that this happened. You can either say, well, I still don't like it. Go fuck yourself. Or you can say, okay, cool. Maybe I'll check out. Or you can say, still, I feel for you, but I still don't like your face, and I'm done. That's everybody's right.
Nah, I think I've seen you mature a lot, and I like this because like we've known each other for a long time. I don't feel like we became real friends until
I think the last like 2 years we became really good buddies.
Yeah. Because when I had an emotional experience with Schmoedown.
Well, yeah,
but then I had to call you, and I was like, oh, Kristian's really hearing me out right now.
But that was the thing, is that because like as you say, that was the thing a lot of people don't realize though too, is that when you're dealing with 100+ personalities, you do become the person that they are, like they want you to, whether people like all the time people like someone so and so was my favorite, so and so did this, so and so did the reason why Kristian did this, because I had somebody recently say that we were fixing the fucking game, and like oh yeah, they had options, and he asked me the harder one. It's like no. What it is that in the document, the way that we would do it, because we'd tape 7 matches in a day. So the way you would do is like there'd be 3-pointers, and so there's like 4 3-pointers. So you'd which one, and you forget the announcers have about 10 seconds or so to fucking here it is. You got to pick a question. These are the 3 or 4 options that you have. Boom. So you can also say, oh well, there was another one that I could have asked, but at the time there's those you have like again 3 or 4 3-pointers, 3 or 4 5-pointers, whatever it might be, but. That type of stuff. People think you're playing favorites. Think you're trying to get the other person to win. That shit happens all the time. So, and it is this balance of like friends and workers, right? But like with you, it's so different because you would come in and like you were coming in like a lot of people to have fun and all that stuff. And like when I heard you were having like a bad experience, I'm like, I don't want that's not what I want Greg to be feeling at all during this, and B, I don't want my friendship to be affected by it. So that's why I was like. And I think that it sometimes helps when you're like, well, nobody gives a fuck. And then you're like, well, wait, the guy who's running this does give a fuck. That should make...
No, it meant the world to me. As I thought you would think it's stupid. And then I was like, oh, this is a completely different side of Kristian that I have not had an interaction with about yet. So that was very meaningful to me that you talked. That was a similar thing with Coy, actually. Like the fact that Coy even recruited me on the team. I was like, Coy knows who I really felt like no one really knew who I was. And so, and the fact that Coy was like wanted me, and then we became good, like great friends. We're super, super close. So that's what I mean. Like I've had a different experience with Schmoedown that's been very influential and impactful in my life, and then getting to know you through there. So it's pretty weird how like I've become much closer with you, and now the Schmoedown and now we're here. So
look, and I hope, and it's like I said, it's harder for you to get out here, but I told you, and we've been trying to make this happen for a bit. Whenever you're available, I'd love to, because what I want to do eventually, because we're going to redo this whole studio, and then I want to have you on with Roxy and Brett. So we can goof around and have a little bit more of like, those goofy times we can have too. There's other things. Anytime you want, you're always welcome here.
That dynamic, the 3 of you dynamic is just awesome.
Thank you.
It is. They're seriously just awesome.
I appreciate it.
Are great together.
I love having Roxy back on. That's what I'm saying. Like as much as I didn't like that experience, I like Roxy's like ride or die when it comes to. She's so you will not find a more loyal person in this world than Roxy Schreier. She's such a loyal, good person. Who is just like, and research wise, holy shit, she's like, she can do. I can't wait to interview people again with her, because she's like so good at it. So to have her back on with Brett, and then Kate's back too, and then Winston, Coy, and we're gonna be doing some really fun stuff here. So I'm excited for.
I'm excited for it, man.
Are you going to D23? Because that was kind of what. No, you're not gonna go. Oh, because you can react to the stuff.
I have someone going to represent us.
Okay, who's going for you guys?
My friend Aaron Alexander, who's been on the channel a bunch. He's had experience with this, so he's going for us. But it's like, I've seen people who go to Comic-Con and then go to their trailers and then try to go to their hotels and then react.
It's hard.
And I'm like, this is so fake. and I just can't do that to the audience. And I like to prep a video in advance. So. And I also want to clarify, some people think like I didn't give a shit about when I was on Schmoedown. Like I'm gonna make this a little bit about me. Like I would goof around and stuff, but people don't realize like
You took it serious.
I still took it serious.
Did you played for a while? You played. You fucking almost beat Mike.
Yeah, I took that match seriously. But even when I was like a goofball, like I remember the last time I went, I was dealing with so many things, and I showed up having anxiety.
You mean? In studio?
Yeah. And then you had to like talk to me, and then Corey's having to call me. I was hyper stressed.
Oh, right.
I was like seeing white. It was really. It's been a while since I've been that like furious. I was talking to my fiance. She was having to try to calm me down. And then it was like, fuck, we got to film. And then, but I took it seriously. Yeah. And it was the most fun I've ever had. But a lot of people don't realize that, like, even if you're goofing around like that, you're still taking it seriously because your goal, like, okay, now I understand my position is I have to try to entertain.
First of all, what people don't realize, and if everyone says you don't take it seriously, people also don't realize you were part of the first live event we ever did.
Yeah, and I gave a shit. I cared a lot about it. You
sure did.
Even though the act is like you don't care, but you do.
You were in a lot of matches. You play against Double Toasted, against like...
Yeah, it was fun.
Tons of matches, and you always took it serious, even though, we were goofing around. That's part of your personality. I never took it that you didn't take it seriously, because you wouldn't have... People who didn't take it seriously wouldn't do it more than 2 or 3 times.
True. I mean, I think... Like a big part of why my fiance and I click, and I think you've talked about this with your wife too, is that my fiance, she genuine, like we're on YouTube, and I think a lot of people, even the ones who adopt the persona of like I don't give a fuck, right. You kind of do because you're doing this, you're on camera, you want to be recognized, and like that's just the reality. There's always a bit of wanting a little bit of validation or recognition, even if you're putting out there that you don't. There is that part of you that does. Sure. Where my fiance, I think what's so great that I've really learned from her, she truly does not give a shit what other people think about her. Yeah. And she knows how to just stick true to her own beliefs and opinions without feeling like she has to placate or be validated by anyone else.
It's awesome.
It's a true strength. As someone who's on camera all the time, it's a great strength to have. And that's something that I feel like has been an influential part of my life.
How'd you guys meet, by the way?
We met at a bar in El Tejano. I found out she was a therapist for autistic kids, and then I go to therapy, and I was like, that's hot. So yeah, anything psychological. I still have never met your wife, by the way.
Never met my wife?
Yeah, I know she's right over there.
She's right. She might be. Well, I tell this story now that this Monday, she's in a very different state, which is great. Both my kids are at school now.
Oh, cool.
And she hasn't had a free day like this in 10 years. So she was playing. I said this. She was playing George Michael's "Freedom" in the kitchen the other day, dancing around. She's like, I'm going to the mall today. It's like we had breakfast the other day. She's like 15 years younger. So like she's in the chances are she's not even fucking home. Who knows where
she looked at you in the eyes for the first time in 10 years.
She's like, who are you? She's like, oh my gosh. She's like, you leveled up.
I think I'm still attracted to you.
Yeah, should I think. But yeah. So but anyway. To jump into D23 before it's going to be we'll probably title it a D23 thing, and it'll be the last thing we fucking talk about.
Piss off people. Clickbait.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, if you didn't get a good conversation out of this, I don't know what to tell you. But D23, there's a lot of speculation in general, not just on the Marvel stuff, but let's talk about what do you think the major news going to come out of D23? It could be Marvel, it could be anything, but the stuff that you are pretty sure is going to hit on D23.
I mean, I think everyone pretty much knows, like, we got to know who the Fantastic Four finally are going to be, right?
You think they're going to be announced?
I think 100% they're going to be announced. I mean, I did not expect it for Comic-Con, but I fully believe that they're going to be announced.
Dr. Doom also, you think?
I hope they do not. I firmly believe Dr. Doom's going to be in Phase 6.
Yeah.
I hope they conceal that.
I agree with you.
That's my wish, is that if Marvel can get their leak situation under control, if that happens to not be revealed, like the big rumors that it's going to be in Black Panther Wakanda Forever post-credits, if that's true,
don't reveal it. I don't want it to be revealed.
I really hope that, like, oh my God, it is, like, that's him, like, cool.
Yeah.
So I that's my main wish. I do think we are going to get something with mutants related.
The X-Men, you think?
It has to be. I don't know about X-Men, but I feel like something. Maybe we've heard that talk about like the mutants movie, and I feel that. I think Star Wars is going to regain a lot of hype, though.
See, all right, so we'll go back to Marvel in a second. So Star Wars, then.
I hear that everything we're hearing about Acolyte sounds awesome.
You gotta assume they gotta play with Acolyte here for a lot of different reasons. The reason why there was nothing at Spectacular. There was nothing as from where my brain is.
Schmoedown Spectacular. Right?
There was nothing. There was nothing at Celebration about Acolyte at all, except I think Amanda confirmed appearance. Maybe no, it was at Comic-Con that they did that. But the Acolyte has had a few like leaks coming out recently.
Yeah.
That usually means that there's more gearing up and amping up towards it. So and even Amanda is in the news, whether it's positive or negative, with the stuff going on with the DMs and shit. But I think they are going to announce a release date for that show. I think we'll get some images from that show. I would love if they actually announce that Darth Plagueis is in the show. I doubt it. But I would like to see something as far as just photography, cast.
It'd be amazing, yeah.
That would be good for me. I think that it's a Lucasfilm and Marvel panel. So I'll give kind of my thoughts on what I think is going to happen, and then I'd love to hear you agree or disagree. So Acolyte, I think, will have something. I think they're going to show, because at that point, at September 10th, Andor will be a few weeks behind. They'll probably do some Andor stuff still because they're going to hype right before it comes out. I think they show the Mandalorian thing again.
Definitely.
I think they show the Ahsoka thing again. And
Definitely.
you probably get...
They'll probably go online. Yeah.
They'll probably go online, and they'll probably show a little bit more... you might get a little bit more cast. You might get Ezra. You might get... what's his face? Thrawn. You might. And then you might hear some stuff about Skeleton Crew, but I think it's a guarantee we get some kind of teaser for Indiana Jones.
Oh, I didn't even think about Indiana Jones.
Comes out in the summertime, and
oh damn,
and they
forgot about that.
And they did, and Willow, and you'll get something about Willow. I always say Willow, like Willow, but like I'm looking forward to Willow. I don't think that Willow should have been talked about at Celebration. I think it should be talked about now.
Yeah.
So what do you think as far as the Lucasfilm panel? What are we going to see?
You took all my answers.
You think same thing? Okay.
I actually forget Willow is Lucasfilm.
Yeah, right.
I forget that.
Right.
And it is weird to associate that because you say Lucasfilm, you just assume, same way with Marvel. You assume Marvel Cinematic Universe, Lucasfilm, Star Wars universe. But yeah, I think that would be awesome to get. I mean, I didn't see any of the leaked footage of any of those things, though.
So Acolyte didn't have any... Oh, you mean the Ahsoka
and Mandalorian?
Good. Stay away from it. Obviously, you definitely should stay away from it. But it's
I hear... I'm not super excited about it. I'm hearing rumors about a Book of Boba Fett season 2.
Yeah, that and Obi-Wan. It's like, I don't... Season 2... I mean, I didn't mind Obi-Wan. It's just... I don't need a season 2. I wouldn't mind Ewan McGregor in more stuff.
Yeah,
Hayden Christensen and more stuff, but I don't think it needs to be an Obi-Wan series again. And Boba Fett, it's like not unless they're going to really retool that character. I don't want like the good, happy Boba Fett. Who Jamie Costa was on the other day. It was hilarious. I was talking. He goes everywhere he goes like, or what are you doing? I'm Boba Fett. Yeah, we know that. He keeps saying that. It's like, do you need some help with your speeder? I am Boba Fett. It's like, yeah, we fucking know you're Boba Fett. We get it. I don't know if we need, unless they're gonna go full on Tony Soprano gangster style, like really go that way.
Yeah,
but I don't think they're gonna do it. Let's get the hell out of that time period. Let's go. You ready? Skeleton Crew's gonna be in that time period. Everything. Let's get the hell out of there. Let's go. You're setting up the High Republic in the Acolyte. Play there.
Yeah.
Like let's get some more stuff. I don't know what they're so scared of.
I would love for them to do something truly dark. Maybe focus on a Sith character or something like that.
That's what the Acolyte's supposed to do.
Yeah. No, I mean like a live action would be great.
But
was Acolyte's live action? Acolyte's is live action, right?
Yeah.
I constently get it confused if it's animated or live action.
I know. Because the only animated that they have is, and they probably show, and that's the other thing too. That I get nervous with the Lucasfilm D23 panel because Marvel's going to be the star of that show.
D20. I mean, Star Wars was. Well, they had the hype of Hayden Christensen's coming.
Right.
What? Like that was pretty monumental, right? Because I didn't hear about that until D23, and I was like, this is fucking bananas.
Yeah. Right.
So unless they have some type of special announcement up their sleeve, but usually their special announcements are reliant on nostalgia.
Yeah, I know, but they have so much that they could put. And the other thing we're not talking about is what the hell's going on with that Taika Waititi movie. Right. So is that going to be announced? Is that going to be talked about? Are they going to bring up any?
Not sure. I could see them canning it after. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But the question is, from what I've heard, rumors are they actually are shooting a movie already.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it's that movie, but I hear. Who knows? Maybe they bring that up or not. The Patty Jenkins movie. We're going to hear anything about that? It's apparently because at one point it was canceled. Now it's not. I don't know. But my point is though, I think that the panel's like 10 in the morning on Saturday.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say how long the panel is. If it's a 2-hour panel of like 10 to 12, okay, then maybe the Lucasfilm panel's like 45 minutes, like almost an hour, and then they both get an hour each. Then you might get a lot of cool shit from both. But if it's only like an hour and a half, I'd say Lucasfilm, you're going to get like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. A majority of it's going to be Andor. They're going to not give a lot of shit out. And then Marvel will just come in throwing haymakers and probably give you all of Phase 6.
It's probably just going to be announcements, too, from Marvel.
Yeah.
I don't know what trailers they would show.
Probably another Black Panther one because it's not too. At that point, you're only going to be like 2 months out from the release.
And they tend to hold on to their trailers.
Yeah.
Is there a Disney Plus show for Marvel that I'm totally forgetting about?
Well, what's Secret? Is Secret Wars the movie?
It's a show.
That's a show, right? So isn't Secret Wars the beginning of January? I don't know, but I think
I've lost track of
there's
so
many.
much of
There's so many of them. Like, I think it's in the beginning of January, February. There's something that comes out, and
We could get a teaser for that, I suppose.
could be. And then what about What If season 2? Maybe you get something because I remember they showed What If season 1.
But you see, that is what I'm like. Star Wars is everything is a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I'm like, do a multiverse show of Star Wars.
They talked about what they talked. There was a What If comic book for Star Wars.
Yeah,
but I don't know what. I mean,
do it live. I mean, I would love to see some type of cool, even if you use some of your legacy characters and did an alt universe of it. I think that would be really cool. To like,
what if Anakin never went bad?
Anakin never went bad. What if Rey went to the dark side? Something,
right.
something to make them more compelling in that regard. I'm like, that. You have the galaxy. You have it established.
Just
do it.
Don't even get me started on all the stuff that they could be doing over there, man. How fun when I brought this up the other day, and I say it enough because I'm always crossing my fingers that someone will steal it, right? Like an idea of like an anthology series live action with Star Wars, and just call it the Star Wars show. And every week, what's on the Star Wars show? Like, I don't know, man. I'm hearing that this whole episode is just about Vader and Palpatine. Yeah. I'm hearing that this whole episode is just about Ahsoka and so. I'm hearing this whole thing is about the Old Republic.
Yeah,
and it's basically what Visions did. Did you watch any of Visions?
I liked Visions.
So Visions was not canon, but it did that, explored different time periods, and it was essentially just a Star Wars show.
Yeah, that
played in every area, and it was great.
I thought it was awesome. Yeah,
do a live action version of that. You can play in any time, and there's no expectations, and there's nothing. Oh well, do an Obi-Wan episode. Do whatever.
They're weirdly restricted to they're not restricted. They've restricted themselves to this very specific chunk of time.
Yeah.
When I'm like, you're the galaxy. Do whatever you want.
And it's always crazy though too when they talk about the multiverse and everything. But
Star Wars,
which is the only place that it really makes sense because time works differently.
Yeah,
time like they did time
and
travel.
And they had the veil that they revealed. Is it the veil? Then Rebels.
In Rebels, Rebels. In Rebels, not the veil, but it was called the shoot.
What the fuck was that called?
Oh,
so they got Ahsoka back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man. Not the Wheels of Time. Yeah, people are going to be screaming at us in the comments. But either way,
I thought it was the veil.
No, it's not the veil. It's not the veil. But I because the shit. I can't remember, but they'll yell at us. Anyway, that has been explored. I always say is people are like, no, I don't want time travel in Star Wars, and I get it. It's the only place that really makes sense because
fucking wormholes and shit, man.
Wormholes, light speed, like the way that time works on different planets and other things too. Like when you go, like I always thought Interstellar was a movie that I thought was so fascinating. Like when he goes to that one planet and time is not moving like it moves here; it moves faster.
It's fucked up, man.
And it never happens on other in Star Wars. Like every planet and everybody talks the same, and every atmosphere is breathable.
Yeah,
right?
Speak English too.
But that's the sci-fi fantasy element of it all, right? As where Interstellar was science fiction, so you can get away with the fact that you can actually hear the blasts in space. You can't hear the blasts in space, but who gives a shit because it's a sci-fi fantasy. But if you go back to everything we're talking about,
I'm more excited about the theories or the what we want to see Star Wars do than I am for Marvel announcement.
For Marvel announcement, I know,
just
right?
a fictional thing that Star Wars is not doing.
Well, but that's you know what that is? That's because you already know and you trust in the fact that we've just talked about it. Hall H, Feige comes out, delivers on, and doesn't even give everything because he's going to save it for D23 because you know he's done it enough and he knows how to satisfy the fans and that they have a full cut plan. Yeah. The reason you get excited about the ideas of Star Wars is like because they're not doing that. And everybody, I said this the other day, everybody, whether it's Warner Brothers or Star Wars, everybody's like, we want a Feige, we want to do it. Everybody wants to be Marvel, but nobody's following those steps. They've got Filoni and Favreau in place. Make one of those fuckers
would be
the
the
head.
Feige. They would absolutely be the Feige.
But you got to put them in place because they're like, well, they are. They're not because they didn't. They have like a credit on Obi-Wan, but and even Boba Fett. Favreau was in charge of a lot of it, but it was really Robert Rodriguez leading the charge.
He also wrote a lot of it, though.
Favreau did, right? Yeah. But right, and because that's the show he wanted to do. But you should have somebody in place that's designing like a plan. Did you ever read the Thrawn trilogy back in the day?
Did not.
So Timothy Zahn did it was like after Return of the Jedi, Timothy Zahn did the Heir of the Empire series, which is essentially like the only real Star Wars material anybody had afterwards. And it was like, it's how Thrawn first kind of came into play. And it was like 5 years after Jedi, and Luke was at the height of his powers, and that's when Mara Jade came into it and all this shit.
Cool.
And then because of the way that the new movies kind of retconned, it wasn't canon anyway, but couldn't put Thrawn in that position. Filoni reintroduced Thrawn into canon into Rebels.
Yeah.
So you could still do an idea of a Thrawn heir to the Empire. Imagine like that scene in Boba Fett when Ahsoka says to Luke, or Luke says to Ahsoka, "Will I ever see you again?" And she's like, "Perhaps," or whatever she says. I've been saying this. I keep saying this. I'm crossing my fingers that they do a Marvel type thing where they set up Ahsoka, they set up Thrawn, Luke comes in, and they set up this whole kind of mini event that's 6 episodes or whatever.
Oh, that would be cool.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's like what?
Damn, I didn't even think about that. That would be cool.
What was the DC one that they did, like Infinite Crisis?
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, like remember how big of an event that was when that all went down? Do that for Star Wars. Like you're setting up the TV verse, and then it's like, imagine like 6 episodes, the Thrawn series of Luke finally. But you're like, holy shit! You'd break Disney Plus.
and this whole time you didn't realize we were building to that.
Yes,
that would be pretty monumental. That would be awesome.
Fingers crossed.
But then wouldn't that fuck with canon?
How so?
Obi-Wan and Luke being in the same show?
No, because Obi-Wan wouldn't be in it.
Obi-Wan wouldn't be in
it. No, Obi-Wan would not be in it.
You said Obi-Wan. Not
Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan would, I mean, unless he's Force Ghost, but no, he wouldn't be in it.
Yeah, because you can't have that.
Yeah, no.
I thought you said it. So no. Wait a minute. This is messing with my mind a little bit.
No. It would be Luke and him.
Luke Ahsoka.
Getting involved and whether you can do it. And I still think it'll be tough to do. But with deepfake technology getting as good as it does, the day that they're able to actually because look at how good that Luke looked in Boba Fett, right? Mm-hmm. The day that they put the Leia, Han, and Luke together again on a Disney Plus show, it's going to be a moment. It's going to be a very
controversial as fuck.
It's very controversial.
Put Leia in there, yeah.
Very controversial, but I mean, they'll put Leia in again. They'll
put so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not she puts in the 3, but I mean, they'll put her in again. I mean, they might even do it in Andor.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as Billie Lourd, her daughter, signs off on it, I think that would be. I mean, look, Peter Cushing was in Rogue One and signed off on him, and he had passed away a kind of long time before that happened. But
I'm surprised. I mean, Andor's really flying under the radar right now. But I got tickets to go watch Rogue One on IMAX.
Okay,
again.
Cool.
I wanted to like go experience that again. I've only seen Rogue One time.
How'd that reaction do for you, by the way?
Not the greatest.
I noticed that for all around the board, and it's like I think it's one of the best trailers Star Wars has put out in years.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we want Star Wars to be fucking more expansive and do crazier stuff and try different things, the bottom line is the thing that does generate monetary success for Star Wars is when they are doing something that we're mainly familiar. Like Mandalorian was the exception because it was brand new and it was their first like Star Wars.
But he still had Boba Fett's armor.
Still was fucking Mandalorian.
He still had Boba Fett's armor. Yeah.
Whereas like we only really got Cassian Andor, like in terms of most people. Like I haven't taken the time to read him in other mediums, but Cassian Andor is just one movie and he died. You know, so this is. The legacy of Cassian Andor is not, even though they have 2 seasons, and it looks fucking awesome. It looks great, and like the kind of, I liked Rogue One more than a lot of people did.
Rogue One is my favorite Disney era of Star Wars.
I think it's my favorite of them too. Yeah, I thought it was epic and awesome.
It's the most. It wasn't when it first came out, but it's the most rewatchable, connectable to the overall thing. And like I said before, when I first saw Force Awakens, so on board with that movie. Still think it's a good movie. But my problem with it is that everything comes after it now. It's like clearly they weren't even talking to each other. Yeah. So it's like, it's just not like when I watch it's just the point. It's disappointing. Rogue One's not disappointing to me because Rogue One leads right into Episode 4. Rogue One is delivers.
What really hit me when Rise of Skywalker came out, I decided to rewatch all the Star Wars movies. Yeah. And by the time I got to Force Awakens, I realized this feels like Disney's Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like it feels like a Disney film all of a sudden.
Yeah, but you know what's tough about that, and I've been saying this lately, the problem is it's still Lucasfilm's fault. Even though even though it's Disney, and I shouldn't say fault, but it's still like, if you're gonna go, Lucasfilm makes the decisions, and Disney is gonna give you the money, and Disney's gonna say this, and Disney might, Bob Iger might have his notes, but they hired JJ. JJ came up with because the same way you look at Mandalorian, right? Mandalorian's under the Disney banner, and Mandalorian feels about as OT as you get. And Rogue One, which we're just talking about.
Exactly.
Rogue One is about and that's still under the Disney banner. So it's really, to me,
it's really that fucking trilogy.
It's the trilogy, and it's the way that thing was. It just was thrown like, okay, like I said, it was just made in old school movie mentality making, and it should have been made in the Marvel type of mindset of we have a treatment, like hey, I got a fucking big thing for these 3 movies are going to happen. This is going to take place. We're going to get so-and-so to direct 1, 2. And what Feige does is, okay, you don't like, well, this is where we're going. Well, I don't like that. Well, you have to do, you can add stuff. Like, look at Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler added so much to Black Panther, so much. But he still had to put stuff that connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because it had to tell a story to eventually get to Infinity War. And there was none of that in the new trilogy. Like, oh, you want to do that? You can, sure, negate that person's movie. They're not directing. Oh, you need to come back and you want to negate that person's movie? Sure. It's like, it was a mess.
Well, I think, too, with like, as much as Star Wars has outgrown George Lucas, the author and god of Star Wars, as much as, like, there are people who know more about Star Wars than George Lucas does. At the end, I think it didn't help that, because I think that's a big part of what gave the prequels respect, even though a lot more people have come around on them. I think what gave the prequels respect was, like, it still feels like this is the complete story. This is this truly is Star Wars. Even if you don't like the execution of the filmmaking, it's still Star Wars. And George Lucas coming out and pretty much being like, they canned all my ideas, everything I really want Star Wars to go.
He didn't have his endorsement anymore.
It just combats with what you're now watching. And then it feels like a corporate product versus true Star Wars.
Agreed, 100%. And especially, and from everything that you heard about him, he really liked Rogue One. From when they say. And
he likes Mandalorian, too.
He likes Mandalorian as well. Mandalorian doesn't surprise me because of Filoni and his connection with Filoni, and the fact that he was. I remember when the Clone Wars TV show came out, and I remember thinking, well, George Lucas didn't give a shit about the novels during his tenure, because he didn't really. He's like, okay, fine, we'll just make money off of them. But I thought that was what Clone Wars was going to do with animation, and then I found out he was in the room all the time, working and coming up with the stories all the time, and teaching Filoni the stuff all the time, and you're like, oh. Okay, you can tell, like, the philosophies of Star Wars are all over Clone Wars.
I think George Lucas should have been the Feige. He should have just stayed producer.
Yeah, the problem is I don't think George Lucas had that. Yeah, I don't think he'd ever be able to do that without, because if he didn't use his particular thing, he's like us. We were just talking. He's very emotional. Very emotional dude.
He still speaks out against the movies.
He still gets pissed off. He still gets pissed. Those aren't my movies anymore. He gets so mad about it. But yeah, I don't think he'd be able to be the guy to, like, I'm telling you,
but he didn't direct Empire or Return of the Jedi.
Oh, but
he was there a problem there?
We'll say he didn't direct Empire. That's just true. He pretty much directed that.
Oh, did he?
Richard Marquand was kind of like a ghost director.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I'm actually not that familiar with the behind the scenes on it.
So I'll tell you what book you should read. It's called How Star Wars Conquered the Universe. I may even have it over here. Chris Taylor.
Okay.
It breaks down. It's incredible. It's an incredible book. But with Kirshner was George Lucas's teacher, I think, at USC.
Okay.
So he came to him to direct it, and then at one point, because George was off, like, because this was right in, like, 1979 was when they were shooting it, and it came out in 80, but, like, Lucas was out and about, the company was blowing up. At that point, it's 2 years after the original Star Wars, so he's off doing a bunch of different things, and Kirshner, Kirshner was directing it, and then Kasdan wrote the screenplay for it, and Lucas wanted to change a lot of shit. He didn't like a lot of the stuff, right? And he didn't like that. It's famously known the most famous line in Empire Strikes Back. I love you. I know. That was the original line was I love you too. That Lucas, right? Lucas is not the best dialogue writer, right? No. And so he wrote that, and he wanted it changed. But to his credit, they screened it, they tested it, and he saw that the audience liked it. All right, fine, leave it in, right? But, like, Kirshner's like, you got me to direct this movie. Let me direct it. And he kind of stepped back a little bit and did it. With Marquand, because they wanted Spielberg to do Jedi originally, and something happened with, like, the union or something, or that he couldn't do it. So Marquand did it, and, like, from what you hear it was not Lucas just basically was directing that movie.
I could see it now. I take back my Feige.
but I think Filoni though took all of those philosophies that he took, and I think that would be able to implement all that. I wish Filoni would pay attention more to the novels than he does, but that's a small gripe.
I mean, when I heard that, I've only seen that that little bit when he's talking with the directors, Filoni, and he's breaking down why the Duel of the Fates fight is so. I'm like, holy shit. This guy's making me like Phantom Menace, you know.
But that does come from George, and that comes from George, and that's why George is his Yoda. He was trained by Yoda, you know, and so like that's why I think, and you have and that's why I think the 1-2 punch of Favreau Filoni, because Favreau's learning about the philosophies and everything too, and certainly is a fan and learns a lot from Filoni, but he's like a masterful with technology and directing and everything too, and being in the live action space and pretty much kickstarting or jump-starting the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the things that he's accomplished. So that 1-2 punch could be powerful, but let him do it all. Let him give that to him. Say, look, okay, what do you need from me? Go build it out. Do this, do that, and then you guys run this, and you guys map out the entire plan. I like Deborah Chow a lot. I'm a massive fan of Deborah Chow, and I think maybe though. I think that the same thing they're doing with a lot of the different directors, maybe directing a couple more episodes first, and then getting directing a series. Great, but I think she pretty much kind of show ran the whole thing. It's a lot of responsibility in your first Star Wars show.
Yeah,
a lot of things I would have changed on Obi-Wan. But what did you think about it? Did you love it?
It was a real up and down experience for me.
Yeah, same.
Like we had, again through Schmoedown, I met Ace Cabrera.
Yeah.
And we had an Ace on for our reactions for it because he's such a big Star Wars expert. Yeah. And I discovered that from the Schmoedown. I was like, damn, I've known Ace, but I didn't know he was this big Star Wars fan.
He's very knowledgeable.
Yeah, so having him on was awesome, and he, of course, loved it. But for me, it like there are things about it I enjoyed overall, but I kind of forgot about it after it was done. I was like, I'm probably not going to watch it. I don't really care.
And that's the problem.
Like Mandalorian leaves impact on me.
I've rewatched Mandalorian 1 and 2 many times over.
Mandalorian's the shit.
Yes.
Whereas Obi-Wan somehow did not feel that significant.
And it should have.
It should have been the most intimate experience of Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Kind of like what Jamie Costa was trying to do with the short film.
Yeah.
And I felt like this should have been the most... Because if you're going to do a prequel where you know the characters are going to live, you know a specific kind of outcome, make up for it. It became so plot heavy that I'm like, I'm not really feeling stakes because you're so focused on the plot when I should be just more focused on the intimacy of this character and whatever personal affect this is having on him.
Yeah, there was a lot of things, and I think that the tone and feel and kind of dreariness of like the Andor trailer was kind of what I was hoping for Obi-Wan. Like that kind of
Andor looks confident and solid in its direction.
Great point. Great point. But that's my point. Again, not taking away anything from Deborah Chow, who is I'm a big fan of Deborah Chow. But it shows the difference, I think, in experience, maybe so, like with what Tony Gilroy is doing right now.
Yeah.
Gilroy, and there's a lot of things about Gilroy that scare me, though, too. I don't know how invested Gilroy is overall in the Star Wars lore, where I think Deborah Chow is very invested in the Star Wars lore. I think Gilroy knows he's invested in the Rogue One universe.
He's making a film. He's a filmmaker.
He is. But he's invested in the Rogue One universe. So you might see Hera pop up because she was in Rogue One. Anybody who's in Rogue One could show up.
Sure.
I don't think he gives a shit about anything else.
No.
I really don't. I don't think he's a Star Wars fan. I think he's a Rogue One universe fan.
Yeah.
That's all I need for this show. But it goes back to my point. I don't think Filoni and Favreau are involved in this show at all. At all. And they should be. So very interesting to see.
But I do want to point out for Chet, I did think some of the aesthetic nature of Vader was some of the coolest I've seen in live action.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, he was like a brutal force, and he was scary whenever he entered the room. And
Episode 3 or whatever it was, that was fantastic. I wish the music would have been better.
Yeah, sure.
I wish they would have used more of the classic music.
I liked when he fought Reva. Like I know some real Star. Like I don't know if you have issues with that. For me, I'm like I like it.
When he fought Reva, I liked when he fought her. I just think that Vader that we saw would have killed her. Like there was no leaving her alive. But like originally the screenwriter of the movie said he did kill her.
Yeah,
they should. It's like that to me. It's like it doesn't matter who it was. Vader ain't leaving you alive.
Yeah.
He's not leaving you alive. And like that, the little inconsistencies in certain things. There was really cool shit. There was like really cool shit. And there was stuff like, you're like, and I'm never going to get over that run around in the woods with Leia. Have you watched it with the Benny Hill music?
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hilarious. Anyway, and other than that, at D23, I think those are the major things. Doctor Doom, I think Phase 6 will be announced, like more so they'll start filling out Phase 6.
I think we'll probably find out like everyone who's really in Blade, perhaps the villain of Blade. I feel I do wonder. I was kind of surprised they unveiled like Avengers, Kang Dynasty, and Secret Wars at Comic. I'm like, damn, those are massive reveals right there. Because now it's like, what comes in between that? It's kind of interesting to reveal your finish line.
And an interesting way to do that, to say, because you know that they had that conversation where Feige's going, okay, look, this is what we're going to do. We know that we have all these movies planned out for Phase 6 and some in 5. We got to give them something big at Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give them Fantastic Four and the 2 Avengers movies. You're going to do both the Avengers? Fuck yeah, let's do both Avengers movies.
All they gave us was a release date for
That's
so they didn't
That's it.
give us any information.
That's it. That's all we got to do is just let them know it's confirmed. They already know it. They don't know who the director is. They don't know any of that shit. Do all that at D23.
Mm-hmm.
But set this shit up, because then they'll start talking. He's got a plan. He knows what he's doing.
Like how we talked about at the very beginning of our talk, he knows how to build anticipation.
Yes.
Like you can, whatever problems people were having with Phase 4, suddenly a lot of people don't even give a shit anymore because now you're caught up in anticipation again.
Yeah, because you go, oh, okay. Yeah. And Phase 4 is like one of the shortest phases like ever so far. And then it like leads in like, what's 5 going to be? How's 5 going to play? What's 6? I mean,
I think like announcing Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty was enough room for anyone who knows what that might imply.
Yeah.
Was like, oh, okay, so everything in Phase 4 will connect. Like it just suddenly clarified that. Even though that's what a lot of us were thinking, it solidified that that belief. So I'm like, damn, that he is a genius. He's a genius.
I have I am going to say there's a less than 1% chance that it happens, but I would be lying if I want this to happen. I want to leave D23 and be like, yeah, the Marvel stuff is cool, but holy shit, Star Wars finally came out and kicked fucking major ass on their shit. Like they announced this, the casting, the plan. Holy shit, who thought Star Wars was going to do that?
Yeah,
because they have the IP to do it. They just never do it.
Yeah.
But that won't happen.
Also really quick, Deadpool 3, I think will get announced.
Deadpool 3 will definitely get announced. I agree with you, because there's an untitled February Marvel picture, and traditionally that's when it's come out, and it's February.
And they already have them writing it.
Yes,
like it's already been in the papers enough as it is.
Right, agreed. Yeah. And I wonder if there's going to be any new series that are announced, or maybe there's I think Loki season 2 they announced already, but 2, like, is Hawkeye or is Kate Bishop getting her own show? Is she going to show up in the other one, the Echo show?
See, I feel like there's all that talk about Young Avengers, and it seems so obvious, but I keep wondering now if that's going to be a Phase 7 joint, and probably not. Right. I just feel like it'd be kind of strange if they announced another, because they already have the Thunderbolts, they already have the Avengers movies,
right? So
they announce another team-up movie in between all
I don't think
they
have
the Marvels happening.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do anything within. I don't know. Who knows? But I mean, I think that because they did say it is the end of the multiverse saga at the end after the second Avengers. So whatever that plays in, maybe you're right though. Maybe they hold Young Avengers until Phase 7. They don't announce anything from there.
Yeah. Because it kind of gives a little bit more reasoning to have. Like they play the long game a lot of the time. Even though Marvel can feel rushed, they're also playing the long game.
Totally.
Do me a favor, please.
What?
Get out of here.
Now?
Get out of here, man. Shit.
All right. I guess that's it. That was a supersized episode.
How long were we here?
1:30.
Oh my God.
1:30. So Greg Alba, ladies and gentlemen, Reel Rejects. Make sure you check him out at the Reel Rejects. You can go on YouTube and check out the Reel Rejects. You should. If you haven't already subscribed to Greg, what the hell are you doing? His channel's phenomenal. It's one of the best out there. So make sure you check that out and check him and John out. John, they're good peeps. And like I said, we'll try to get Greg on a lot more whenever he's available. And for you guys,
when the roads are clear.
When the roads are clear, for sure. If you haven't already, do me a favor and subscribe. Get us to 70,000 by the end of the year. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get on the road, whether it's this show, Capes and Cowls, Sith Council, doing some more stand-up now. So make sure you head on over there and subscribe to the channel. All right, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Get yourself some Storyblocks, everybody. All right, we'll see you on the flip side.
See ya. Thanks for having me.
All right, you got it, Greg. Peace out.